TikTok is a very interesting place. It can be very funny, it can be very frustrating, and sometimes it is just plain confusing. The thing is, trends on TikTok happen very frequently and they tend to pass by relatively quickly too. Because of that, the nature of TikTok trends tend to be very random. Just recently, in September, a trending topic on TikTok was the rapture. Towards the end of September, my For You page started getting filled with videos of people talking about an upcoming rapture. This rapture was supposed to happen on the 23rd and 24th of September, depending on which time zone you're in. In an article for New York Times, Yan Zhuang talked about the origins of this prediction. The date September 23rd, 2025 appears to have originated from Joshua of South Africa. Though news reports have widely described him as a pastor, he said in a YouTube video from June, "I'm just a simple person. No title, I'm not an apostle, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a bishop, I'm just a believer." In the video, he says that Jesus came to him in a dream in 2018 and told him, "On the 23rd and the 24th of September 2025, I will come to take my church." The context, as Joshua understood it, was the 2026 FIFA World Cup. He was telling me that by June 2026, the world is gearing up towards the World Cup, he said. But because chaos would descend after the rapture, there will be no World Cup in 2026. Which makes sense, because if people get raptured, like who's going to play the World Cup, you know? If you're a Christian, or if your faith shares similarities to Christianity, or if you have some knowledge because you went to Christian school in the past, the rapture is probably a concept you are familiar with. The rapture is essentially the end of the world, where Jesus is going to come a second time and restore the world for his believers. He will take his believers and give them new life in a new world. Something that is very emphasized in the teachings is that no one is supposed to know when the rapture will happen. The second coming of Jesus is never specified in the Bible, nor do I think, as a Christian myself, that there are clues put into the Bible about it. It's not like Taylor Swift, where she has Easter eggs in her albums or music videos about upcoming releases. Even if there are Easter eggs in the Bible, we wouldn't know about it until the actual rapture happens. I'm only saying this because the birth of Jesus in the New Testament was prophesied even in the Old Testament, but those clues wouldn't make sense unless you actually trace back Jesus' birth all the way to the passages in the Old Testament. Point being, the rapture is meant to arrive at the time that no one knows. It can happen in a week from now, or it can happen 1,000 years from now. You're not supposed to know. But that hasn't stopped people from predicting when the rapture is happening. Some people claim they receive messages from God himself, either through visions or they deciphered clues from the Bible. While the Bible talks about receiving visions and prophecies, I always take anyone claiming they receive visions with a grain of salt. In this day and age, religion has been perverted to fit a certain agenda, and sometimes these agendas are for monetary gains or to harm other people. So I caution people from believing those who claim that they get visions, or if they claim they can perform miracles, like healing a person from like one touch. Take those words with a grain of salt. Like, sometimes you're not telling the truth, you know? Nonetheless, people have actually anticipated this September rapture. A video from CNN showed several people prepping for it, either by preparing their homes for people who might not get raptured. Some people are actually selling their houses and quitting their jobs and doing other things as well. There are people doing this in earnest, but TikTok being TikTok, there are the more comedic videos, the more entertaining ones, if you will. Like, there are get ready with me to get raptured videos, or videos from people from different time zones claiming they have been raptured. Yeah, I've been raptured and heaven is so cool. Yeah, I'm posting this video from heaven, man. Those videos are very entertaining. I laughed at them. I love those videos. But what I was thinking about when this trend became trending is, why are people so willing to accept the idea of the end of the world? In the New York Times article I mentioned before, Zhuang highlighted this quote from Peter Sherlock, a professor and theologian at Charles Sturt University in Australia. Theologian is someone who studies theology or God. Peter Sherlock said, "The fact that people want to believe that the world will end on a certain date says more about the uncertainty of our own times than it does about what is actually in the Bible." cannot help but feel like a certain sadness, I guess, in a way that people were so willing to accept this rapture. Like, there is this resignation and acceptance about the world ending. Maybe because the world is like so effed up right now, so we're just like, let's start the rapture. Like, maybe the world should truly end and we need to restart from the beginning, because like massive problems like messed up politics, genocide, starvation, climate change, the economic recession, like those things wouldn't end unless like the world ends, you know? As you can see, what I did just then, it's like I do feel like a deep sense of frustration with how the world is at the moment. But instead of communicating it in a way that, you know what, I'm so sad, I wish the world is different, I wish I can do something about it, I'm just like masking all of this emotion behind humor. And I feel like this is what is happening at the moment within our social media. Like, people are masking this sadness using Gen Z's brand of humor. There's not many scholarly articles about Gen Z humor, and I honestly, like, I always find it dry reading scholars writing about humor. Like, I had this subject in uni where we talked about memes, and it was just so dry. Like, the articles were so dry, the lectures were so dry. In addition to that, for the articles that I actually found about like Gen Z personality and Gen Z behaviors, most of them are focused more on like how to market towards Gen Z, and I'm like, that's not the point right now. That's not the point. That's not her point. Because of that, most of the sources for this section will come from YouTube videos and online articles, so please be patient with me. Anyhow, a video by Mr. Sweet breaks down Gen Z humor. From what I gathered in the video, Gen Z humor is marked by irony, randomness, nihilism, and existential dread. And I can definitely see these traits being present in the videos about being excited to get raptured, or the videos claiming people have been raptured. Meanwhile, Krish Moran on Medium talks about how memes have become a form of connection for Gen Z, even if sometimes these memes do not make sense. Moran writes, "Have you noticed how Gen Z humor is borderline absurd sometimes? Because this kind of humor is a coping mechanism. Gen Z lives in a world of climate anxiety, rising costs, uncertain futures, and non-stop information overload. So instead of crying, they meme. It's like the brain's way of saying, everything's on fire, but I'm gonna laugh through it." Mental health is a huge topic for Gen Z, and memes are often the first way they open up about it. Memes make talking about anxiety, depression, burnout, and loneliness more accessible. They take big feelings and package them in a way that's relatable without being overwhelming. I think more than anything, it is quite sad, and I know I say sad a lot in this video, but it is kind of sad, you know, that young people have to resort to these kinds of humor as a coping mechanism, and it is indicative of the world that we live in at the moment, and the uncertainty surrounding it, and the way that Gen Z have to reckon with the consequences of this world that they are living in. UNICEF Perception of Youth Mental Health released a report in 2025. A highlight from the report is the fact that Gen Z feels a very strong sense of being engaged in the world's future. The report said, despite an overwhelming news cycle, Gen Z actively consume news more than any other type of content. They feel a strong sense of accountability for shaping the future. This is not anything new. With social media and the increased accessibility to internet, information overload tends to happen. I often talk about this in my other videos. It doesn't help as well that people these days have become more beholden to their devices as well. There's this information overload, but we still have to use our devices because a lot of our lives are on our devices, and it becomes this really weird loop where we have to be attached to our devices, but then there's this information overload, and it becomes kind of like this really weird, like toxic sort of thing. The report also said this constant engagement comes at a cost. 6 in 10 Gen Z report feeling overwhelmed by news and events happening in their community, their country, and the world at large. Overwhelm erodes well-being and empowerment. Gen Z who feel this sense of overwhelm are more likely to report lower well-being. Those with low well-being, in return, feel a heightened sense of disempowerment. By not supporting them, we are stripping Gen Z of their agency in contributing to make the world a better place for themselves and future generations. In addition, Gen Z, while being more well-versed about mental health, they still face stigma surrounding talking about mental health or even seeking support to help with their mental health, which kind of explains why their sense of humor has that like existential dread to it, because speaking truly and honestly about their mental health is still frowned down upon. The internet is also not a nice place. I wouldn't be surprised that when Gen Z posts those memes, they are met with nasty comments about being attention seekers, because let's face it, like some people just do not know how to have good internet etiquette. And sometimes too, older generations tend to look down or shut down younger generations. This phenomenon is not new. I think there's always this sense of like, oh, younger generations don't know how hard we had it back in the day. But the constant feeling of being shut down does add to a sense of disempowerment. Overall, I think Gen Z as a community has not been taken as seriously as they should be. Remember when I said it was hard trying to find scholarly articles discussing Gen Z humor? Like, most of the articles I found were focused on marketing. And I think it shows how a lot of people don't take Gen Z seriously unless it's to target their wallets. Instead of being viewed as a community of people who deserve like love and care, they are viewed instead as commodity. Never mind the fact that they have been politically active and consistently trying to do stuff to better the future. Gen Z are underestimated and often dismissed. This is something that is also highlighted in Mr. Sweet's video. Past generations have found ways to be countercultural in response to their own dismissal from the generation that comes before them. I'm sorry, are you guys following? Like past generations always look down on the generation that comes after them. These generations have always found ways to be countercultural in response to this dismissal. Am I helping? Anyway, this countercultural movement sometimes comes in the form of like, punk rock and those kinds of things. And they're always like very, visible and very, very strong with their voice, right? But Gen Z had to be more subtle or ironic in their countercultural movements. Maybe it's because, their lives are constantly being surveilled on the internet. So there's the fear of like going viral because you got mocked for doing something countercultural, even if it's like in earnest. Like, remember that girl who sang Moana on Delta Airlines? I remember I made a video about it as well. However, I don't think that this is something that only past generations are doing to like Gen Z, because I think like fellow Gen Z also does the same thing to their peers. Maybe it's because like they don't talk about their emotions in a genuine way, like they always mask it in a layer of irony and humor, kind of the same vibe as like how in Marvel movies, whenever there's an earnest moment, it's always like undercut with like humor. But then when these people are, like confronted with people being genuine and vulnerable, everyone else is like, oh my god, so cringe. So cringe. So people become afraid of being genuine and vulnerable because they are afraid of what people would say, and because these comments will get amplified by like social media, because not a lot of people have etiquette on social media. I'm just saying. But that also goes to say like there's nothing wrong with being like earnest and vulnerable as well. And I think that is something that, people should come to embrace. But I do think there might be a shift in these kinds of things, because the responses to movies or shows that are more, like optimistic, like Superman, well, they're still met with people going like, oh my god, that's so cringe and so cheesy. It's met with more positive responses, with people like actually enjoying the earnestness of like Superman, I guess, and like about him being so optimistic and stuff like that. So maybe we're shifting away from that a little bit, or maybe people are looking for some escape. Anyway, I hope this video makes sense. I'm sorry if it's all over the place. While the rapture trend is funny, I also feel a deep sense of sadness like seeing something like this trending. Because when you dig deeper into the reason why people want to be raptured, like it's not wholly about, like religious reasons. It's because they feel a sense of hopelessness, whether it be from the current socio-political climate, the economy, the climate change, the war. And the only way that it feels like we can solve these issues is by resetting everything and just like ending everything. But I would love to know what you guys think. Do you guys want to be raptured? Personally, like, you know what, I'm upset with the world. Like, let's go, let's go, let's go. But on a more serious note though, let's talk about what do you observe when something like this becomes trending. Like, what do you think is the reason that it trends, and what do you guys think about Gen Z humor as well? Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, please press the like button, share the video, comment on it as well, answer the questions I posted before. Maybe, I don't know, I genuinely would love to know what people think. And yeah, just overall engage with the video, boost it, yeah. And if you like this video, I make other video essays as well, and maybe subscribe. I wouldn't be opposed if you subscribe. I mean, that would be great actually if you subscribe, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good day.